here I am putting yellow acrylic ink all over a large sheet of paper, which I covered with gesso first. And I also covered it with a thin layer of absorbent ground, which I have never used. And I don't know if I put quite enough of it on. I didn't notice a massive difference between it and working directly on gesso. In some of these areas I added water. And now beginning with some black acrylic ink. Doing some squiggles down there. Wasn't really feeling that. So I hit it with my water sprayer and a nice little wedge. It's not really a wedge. It's more of a squeegee. Now this was really fun. I'm working with a liner, like a rigger brush. And this is being played at like a sped up, 30% of original actual speed. I was not moving that quickly. The rigger has very long bristles, and it can be rather difficult to control, which is fun because you kind of have to move slowly and see what sort of shapes it'll allow you to make. There's some more shapes with the rigger. I really enjoyed working with that brush. And here's some acrylic paint with my squeegee again. Making some mountains. All of these sections of footage are sped up quite a bit, anywhere between 1/10 of actual speed to 1/3 of actual speed. Some of them even less, even faster. It's really fun to play with gobs of wet paint with one of these scrapers. And now more fun with the rigger brush. Just letting it do some very organic shapes. I highly recommend trying it because as much as it's looking very like I'm drawing with a pencil in this sped up footage, it would be quite boring to watch it at actual speed, I am sure. But it's a really nice challenge, especially if you're someone who has a tendency to get noodly with detail. It really slows you down and makes you think differently about the shapes you're creating. Here is, what is this brush called? A comb, I believe. It is for doing things like grass, which is what I'm doing. I mean, abstractly, but I was thinking about grass as I used this little comb brush. It's a tricky one because it needs to be kind of half dry, so it's kind of tricky to work with ink. And now a nice, very noodly tree drawing. This is one of my typical classic trees that I have been drawing over the recent years. This is much more noodly. And once again, this is sped up a lot. It probably is only at about 5% or 10% of the actual full length. Here's some driving rain, once again with my friend the rigger. This was tricky because it really needs to be quite wet when you're working with the rigger. And there I was just playing with a brush, putting some washes down. Really fun. Cutting up the taped off pieces. For reference, when I prepared this piece of 22 by 30 printmaking paper, after I gessoed it, I measured off 6-inch squares and I taped it in such a way that each piece would have even borders, all 4 sides. So in the center tapings, I used 2 pieces of tape next to one another, which is very helpful because it lets you know where to cut when you're finished. gold paint. I really love this very highly metallic gold watercolor. It's hard to tell in this footage how iridescent it is on the paper. I think you can get a sense of it on the palette, but when you move your paper, it's just so gorgeous. You got to use a lot of water and then really stir it, so that it gets thick, like a syrupy consistency, in order for it to go on nice and opaque, which is how you want it to get maximum metallic quality out of it. I think it works very well with this yellow acrylic ink, and I have used it. I have used the two of them as in pairings before, and also with collage materials in various tones of yellows and gold. Yeah, the paint is wonderful. However, as it is watercolor, it does need it needs a fixative of some sort once you're finished to protect it. I use Spectrafix, which is a casein-based spritzy, like you spritz it with your fingers. Ooh, the beautiful gold water. Yeah, it's a casein-based fixative that is totally environmentally friendly. It's biodegradable, all that. It takes a lot of coats to really fix things in a sort of permanent way, but it's really nice. And here, speaking of collage, I cut out part of a circle from that Luna bag, and it has just the exact same shade of yellow. It kind of becomes a really inherent part of the drawing. Here's another piece that I decided to add some collage to. A little piece of origami yellow paper. Even my glue stick matches that yellow. It's kind of funny. Everything yellow. And here's a really beautiful little slice of handmade paper that I bought in Amsterdam, I think. It's got screen printed white paint in this beautiful pattern on some handmade, soft, beautiful paper, which I used a lot in sketchbooks and other things as well. Now I'm drawing a little line around the edges of my tape with pencil so that when I remove the tape, these images have a border. On some of these, I had to use some white acrylic paint to paint around the borders because some of the ink bled underneath the tape. When I was finishing these up, my phone died, so the footage ran out. So I've done a little pickup recording here to kind of show you where I ended up. The 22 by 30 large sheet that I was working on had 12 squares, and 7 remain. 5 of them just kind of came out as nothing. There was not really any point in trying to get them to go anywhere. But I think 7 out of 12 is quite a good net. And I wouldn't say that these are all perfect or necessarily all finished, but they're just little 6x6 paintings. So they don't have huge burdens to bear, in my opinion. I'm happy to let them be. The first one up here is my noodly trees, which I drew on with a Sharpie, as you saw in the time lapse. And it's hard to see here, but my noodly little sort of mid-century modern roots underneath the trees that I did with the ink, which I quite like. This one looks like quite a gloomy rainy day, maybe with some puddles. Sort of reminds me of small shrubberies in a yard. Here's the one that I was doing my straight lines with my rigger brush, trying to get a nice middle tone gray. It has this nice ridge here. Quite like how that came out. This one is very abstract, aside from these little bits of grass that I did with my rake. I have some pale grass in the foreground and the deeper black grass that you saw me working on. And that gold, I just love it. Now, this is the piece that I used the handmade yellow paper on with the screen printed white shapes. And it has some more of the gold. It has a little piece of collage paper in addition to the handmade collage paper at the top. And I put a little bit of gold on that one nub. And there's a couple little gems down in that corner as well. Really love the way the gold works with this yellow ink. These two I'm really pleased with. I think these are my favorite of the whole session of playing with ink. I think they would make a rather nice diptych. The one on the left has the piece of circle that I cut out of the bag. It really looks almost like ink and more of the yellow ink, black ink and yellow ink. But you can see that line through the paper. It's just subtle. I do like that about incorporating collage into a piece. I don't know why I was doing that little gesture of squiggles, but I'm pretty pleased with these. Some of them I might work on some more, but the two squiggle ones are my favorites for sure. I think I'd like to do more pieces like that. Playing around. I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and come back again. Thanks.